that's why you're here, right? You're not, remember that if this was a Migos concert, we would have tens of thousands of people lined up outside the door, right? If this was a Popeye's Chicken Appreciation Day, right? It would be packed out, right? We know this, right? We know that that it's easier to get attention when you talk about chicken sandwiches than it is to get attention when you're talking about investing and building for the future. So I like these conversations because I love getting chances to preach to the choir because it takes a lot less preaching. And I really have a hard time spending a lot of time arguing with the same people that Harriet Tubman would have just shot, right? Let's just be real. Harry was like, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm arguing with this gun. I'm not going to shoot nobody. I wouldn't want to shoot nobody because, there's a process. There's a growth process. But some of us are further along in this process than others. And so when we talk about wealth and why we're here and what we're seeking to learn, I know that one of the contributions I wanted to make to the We Buy Black convention, because I just respect so much what Sharif Abdul Malik and his team have put together. What I'm really seeing is Black power. I'm seeing the development of an economy. I'm seeing what will become a $50-100 billion industry in the next couple of decades. I see this, right? This is all happening. And why is it easy to see? Well, it's easy to see because you're already generating billions of dollars in wealth for other people. We already know this, right? We're already, I broke down, just since everyone is interested in chicken this week, I just figured, well, okay, we're all talking about chicken. Let's talk about chicken. I said, well, let's look at who owns Popeyes, how much revenue they made, the $5 billion a year they made, how much free advertising they got from Black Twitter, where we're beefing over chicken sandwiches and all this other stuff. And let's just really look at this. And I said, okay, so answer me some questions, yes or no. I said, when you are investing all your energy and time into, supporting these restaurants that sell chicken or whatever it is, whose children are getting wealth? Their children and your children. Whose children benefit? Their children, right? Their children get, trust funds. Your children get spicy chicken sandwiches, right? If you're talking about money, this Canadian-owned company that owns Popeye's Chicken, they're in Canada. They're not even in the United States, let alone the Black community. When the Black community is struggling with, things like a 45% unemployment rate for young Black men, which is a multi-trillion-dollar loss for the community, by the way. You lose trillions of dollars when you have that much human capital just sitting there. It's like having a big pile of diamonds just sitting in your toilet. So when that happens, when they hear about these things, yes or no, do you think that they're going to take some of that Popeyes money and invest that in your community to make sure that your children are good? No, right? They don't care, right? They don't care. So, my statements on this are not meant to be cynical or nasty or preachy or anti-chicken. Some of y'all eat chicken. Some of y'all might go, get a chicken sandwich today, and I'm not going to ever tell you you're a bad person for doing that. But I think that when these things happen, they're interesting to me because when people ask, well, where did all the Black wealth go? I say, whoa, it's right there at the Popeyes. It's over there. Right? You see it. You see it. Well, where did all the Black money go? Why Black people? Well, Disney put out a movie that's where $700 million leaked out the window over there because Disney put out Black Panther 2, right? Right. Well, where did all the Black wealth go? Well, you see those sneakers and whatever, right? We know where the money's at. We know where the money's going, right? And so what I want you to kind of do is just understand this basic idea that you tend to have more money when you don't give your money away, right? Basic idea. You have more money when you don't give your money away. Now, what do we believe in the Black Business School? One thing we believe in the Black Business School, we have about 80,000 students worldwide. You're welcome to join. You can join for free, theblackbusinessschool.com. Because if you're going to build businesses and buy Black and build Black, you have to understand business, right? I believe every child should go to business school at the age of 6. That's how our children can get ahead. The same way because they're going to football camps at 6. They're going to basketball camp at 6, 7, 8 years old. Why does a community lose economically? Well, if your kids are better at basketball than they are at investing, then why would you think that would have more money than other communities where the children are taught about investing at an early age? Why would you think that's going to happen? It doesn't happen by magic. We're just going to be better basketball players, which we are, right? There's about $1 trillion in lost wealth from all the out-of-work basketball players we have that are just doing amazing things over in Central Park. Now, this is not anti-basketball. This is just stupidity, right? This is pro-logic. This is pro-common sense, right? I like basketball. I play basketball, and I eat chicken. I'm just gonna confess that up. Some of y'all are vegans and all that. I'm not there yet. I'm still on my journey of growth to, get healthy like that, right? But it's sort of helping us understand that if you want to understand what's going on with our communities and with our families, you just have to make sure we always connect the dots. These things did not happen overnight. They did not happen coincidentally. They do not happen by magic. It happens based on simple step A plus step B plus step C type situations. So in the Black Business School, one thing that we believe is what we call the Black Core of Three. The Black Core of Three is that we believe Black people should educate our own children, create our own jobs, and support Black businesses. Those are the three. That's our fundamental, most basic core value that we believe in. That is our gospel. That's our religion. That's why we live. I would take a bullet for any of those three ideas. Why must we educate our own children? Well, because we have trillions of dollars in lost wealth from all the miseducated Negroes who think that they are building a community by going to work for people in other communities, or by spending their money in other places, or by, for example, one big area of lost Black wealth is student loan debt. That money is not going to your community. It's a $250,000 coming out of so many families, or 80,000 or whatever, that's never repaid by half the graduates. Half of the Black college graduates default on their student loans. Half of all the graduates default. The people that don't graduate, their default rate is much, much higher than that. And so even your most successful people are dying in debt, having bad credit, can't invest anything, can't buy a home, can't move forward in life, because the student loan debt is like the boogeyman in your backyard. Now, there are ways around that. There are ways around that, actually. In some of our real estate classes, we teach how you can get around bad credit, fix your credit, do whatever you got to do to take advantage of government programs that allow you to buy your home, even with bad credit. We have hundreds of students who bought homes with the worst credit imaginable. Like credit where you're like, damn, you never ever paid anybody back, but they still somehow found a way to buy a home. Why is that important? Well, because that's where you're jumping the fence. You're jumping the fence from being a wealth creator for other people to being a wealth creator for yourself when you start becoming an investor. There is a Mason-Dixon line. There's a line of demarcation that exists in the world between those who build the wealth for others and those who build the wealth for themselves. The capitalist system, when it comes to investing, is what I would call a horse and jockey system. It's a horse and jockey system. Why? Well, because you think about a horse race. If you look at the way a horse race works, how does it work? The jockey gets on the horse and smacks the horse, and the horse does all the work, and the jockey rides across the line, and when the race is over, the horse doesn't get the money, the jockey gets the money. The horse doesn't get the praise, a little bit of praise, but not much. The jockey gets the praise and the fame, and the jockey is the one who gets all the rewards, most of it. The horse gets some hay and stuff like that, and they say, that's a real good horse. That horse really did a good job for his jockey. It's kind of like that, right? And so the capitalist system is a horse and jockey system that favors investors in the following way. If someone runs a business and there are consumers of that business and then there are producers, if you are a consumer all the time and never a producer, then you are the horse, someone else is the jockey. When I'm constantly consuming products, shoes and clothes and Popeye's chicken or whatever, then the people that run those companies that produce those products are building wealth for their families. I'm getting stuff. I'm getting a bunch of stuff that won't have any value in 5-10 years. Many of us can't even remember what we did with most of our money 5 years ago. Many of us can't, right? If you are a renter and you're paying money to a landlord, then you are the horse, the landlord is the jockey. If I pay $1,500 a month in rent over a 30-year period, and my landlord is taking that money and investing that money, even if they are a bad investor, even if they know nothing about stocks and they're just putting the money in random stocks, that person, mathematically speaking, I'm a mathematician now. My first master's degree was in mathematics, so I can add 2 plus 2. If that person takes that money and invests it over a 30-40-year period, you have bought a mansion for your landlord. Now think about it. This is fascinating though, right? Because the same person who just bought a mansion for their landlord will say, I can't afford to buy a house. But you just bought one. Like if you pay rent for 30-40 years, I can show you mathematically how you bought your landlord a house, right? The horse and jockey system translates into almost every other area. When you talk about stock market investing, real estate investing, entrepreneurship, all these things, you usually have somebody or some group upon whom the wealth is built and some group for whom the wealth benefits, right? Warren Buffett, one of the richest men on earth, who did not start off that rich, nearly that rich. He was about middle class, but he wasn't nearly as rich as he is now. He always said something I thought was interesting. He said that wealth is kind of a transfer from impatient people to patient people. Right? It's a transfer from people who think short term to those who think long term. Right? A renter is a short-term thinker. A consumer is a short-term thinker. So wealth kind of just passes on from those who can see, who can't see the future, to those who can see the future. So if you want to understand how to build wealth through investing, the first thing you got to do is you have to commit yourself to a basic idea. The basic idea is that those who have the most patience and those who have the most vision usually end up having the most power. The people who have power in 2019 are not people who started making their plan in 2018. The people who have power in 2019 are the people who were planning for 2019 back in 1994. So the people who have power in 2045 are the people who are planning for 2045 in 2019. So I got to ask you this: what is your plan for 2045? What is your plan for 2075? China is one of the richest countries on earth. It is one of the most economically powerful countries on earth. The United States is in the middle of a chaotic trade war with China right now because they are basically pushing hard to undermine the tremendous growth and geopolitical power that China has amassed through its commitment to powernomics and investing in its own community. China is doing well now because 70 years ago, when they were the laughing stock of the world, when they were getting clowned like us, getting clowned the same way they clowned us when we all excited about Popeye's chicken, more excited about Popeye's chicken than we are about education, right? When they were getting clowned, somebody came along, some leaders came along and formed a 100-year plan for global economic domination. And the plan consisted of some basic ideas that involved investing in China. It involved pushing citizens to understand that whatever wealth you have, whatever power you have, whatever skill you have, you are better off investing that in China. Bring it home to China. You might be the best scientist in the world, but we don't care if you're in the United States. It don't matter if you're bringing it home to China. You might have a bunch of money over there, but whatever money you got, we're going to measure the quality of your citizenship by whether you're bringing it home to China. They measure you on what kind of citizen you are based on what you're giving back to China. They were playing powernomics on a tremendous level. 50 years into their 100-year plan, they've grown the biggest economy on the planet, and they're only halfway done. They're only halfway done with the plan. They still have another 40, 50 years to go. Okay? So when you talk about investing, what I want you to do is I want you to think about your family and think about it in the context of that China example. What is your 50-year, 100-year plan for your family? What is your plan for economic domination within your family? That plan must include the planting of seeds. All an investor is a seed planter. All an investor is a seed planter, and all wealthy people are, most of the time, are people who have seen a harvest as a result of seeds they planted in the past. We look at the harvest and we get mad and say, oh, well, why he got all that money? He got all that money because somebody gave it to him and he got lucky, blah, blah, blah. No, somebody planted a seed. It might not have been that person. It might have been a person of the previous generation. But most wealth is created because somebody planted a seed. Even jerks, people that many of us can't stand, like a Donald Trump, he got his wealth because his father Fred started planting seeds in 1913 when he decided to stop being a carpenter and he started owning property. He bought his first unit and was barely getting by and just kept buying more units and kept flipping that money, and then now suddenly he's got all this money. His son's a billionaire 100 years later. So what seeds are being planted? You see, history is a long time. You know, when you look at the history of nations and the growth of families and powerful groups all around the world, you're talking about hundreds of years going by before transitions of power take place. So your time here is very, very short. You're not going to live that long. You're going to die soon. I hate breaking it to you, but you are. We all are. All you have time to do really in this life is plant as many seeds as possible and also accept the fact that the harvest will rise when you're not here to enjoy it. That harvest is not going to benefit you in the way that you would like for it to. It will benefit you a little bit, but if you make $1 million, God bless you if you do, that means your grandkids will probably make $500 million or 50 million or 100 million if you teach them how to protect and manage that wealth. One other thing you want to know about investing is this: 70% of all wealthy families lose all their wealth in one generation. 90% of all wealthy families lose their wealth within 2 generations. Why is that? Well, because a lot of times we don't teach our children how to protect and manage wealth. Once you acquire wealth, the next step is learning how to protect it, learning how to grow it, and learning how to keep it. A lot of families don't teach that to their kids. So when we teach in the Black Business School, one of our biggest segments of our student body are children, 8, 9, 10 years old. It's called Black Millionaires of Tomorrow. And because here's the thing, if you're really trying to win this game, you have to think as long-term as you possibly can. And if you want to get started in investing, what I encourage you to do is don't overthink it. Don't let anybody tell you that stock market investing is the devil or that it's bad. I wish I could go into the long process. If you want to come out tomorrow, I actually have an 8-hour-long seminar in Atlanta on how to invest. When you walk out of there, you will be a stock market investor, but you're going to know investing better than you ever learned it from any college campus. They'll charge you $80,000 or whatever. It's about $200. So if you're interested, feel free. You can go to drboyceatlanta.com. It's right here down at the West End on Peachtree, drboyceatlanta.com. The idea, though, is that when we don't invest, we are losing. Bad investors typically do better than people who don't invest at all. In fact, they almost always do better. I'll give you a quick story to help you understand this, and then I'm going to shut it down because I know we want to do a Q&A, and I wanted to tell you about Rick Mathis. I guess Rick was here because we're going to mention the film, Young Moneymakers. Okay, Rick, and I'll tell you about that in a second, but let me tell you the story. They actually did an experiment where they actually got monkeys. They taught monkeys how to invest. And the way they did it was they let them throw darts at a wall, and they invested in whatever stocks that the monkeys picked based on throwing darts at a wall. Well, what they found basically was that when they took the stocks that the monkeys picked and compared the return on investment, the money the monkeys were making, to the leading experts on Wall Street, the monkeys actually beat the experts half the time. So even a monkey investing who knows nothing about stocks, never took a class, doesn't know anything about anything, doesn't know complex terminology, market caps and volatility, any of that stuff, even a monkey makes more money than a person who doesn't invest. So you could have a PhD, and if you are scared to invest in the stock market, a monkey will outperform you in terms of wealth building, because that's the dynamic of how the market works. Why do I know this? Well, because that's what I wrote my dissertation on. I wrote probably 15 research papers, published research papers on this topic. I studied it for 25 years. I've been teaching at university since I was 22 years old. And at the end of the day, Black people are losing trillions of dollars because somebody told us to be afraid to invest. I don't even care. I hear all the stories. Oh, well, you know, Doc, the market's going to collapse and the dollar's going to lose its value. Yeah. People have been predicting doom and gloom for the last 100 years. So I asked them this basic question. I say, tell me one time in the last 100 years, just tell me one time in the last 100 years where the stock market collapsed and did not recover. Did not recover within the next 3 to 5. Point one time. They can't give me that one time. So what I'm saying to you is that fear cannot drive your decision making when it comes to wealth building. When you look at the data, stock market participation is the #1 factor that divides wealthy people from everybody else. So if you want to be wealthy, do some of the stuff wealthy people are doing. You ain't gotta go to college for none of this. I'm done talking. Y'all can tell I get excited about it because maybe it pisses me off a little bit. My YouTube, if you guys, I don't know if you guys go to my YouTube channel or not, it's drboycetv.com. Feel free to check that out. If you just be ready to be offended, because I'll probably say some things that'll make you mad at some point. But I tell you what's on my mind. I can't apologize for that. Now, Rick, let me just mention Rick's film that Rick is working on. Rick is the mastermind of this. You want to come on up? Rick is a Black filmmaker here who made a film called Black Friday. Anybody know about Black Friday? Yeah, Black Friday was a great film. Black Friday Part 1, Part 2, you have the remix also. Rick is an excellent filmmaker. Rick is very important. He's right there in terms of people like himself, Tariq Nasheed, Dorian Chandler, and others that are part of what I call the new Black Hollywood. These people create what I call blackbuster films. Blackbuster will play off the word blockbuster, meaning that these are films that come out of the Black community, that are supported by the Black community, that do really well and make millions of dollars and all this other stuff. And so that's our future. I have my students in the Black Business School read this book called How the Jew Jews invented Hollywood. It's not anti-Semitic on any level. It's basically a blueprint master plan on how the Jewish community used Hollywood as a pathway for political and economic power. And I want black people to do the same thing. So Rick can mention real quick about the film. I don't know how much more time we have, but go ahead, bro.
Man, give it up to Boyce Watkins, man, Dr. Boyce Watkins, and the We Buy Black Convention. If you die right now, would you leave bills or benefits? That's the question that a 9-year-old asked me in the film Black Friday. So right now, we're in a serious time, people. Did you know that most young people go to jail because they're trying to get money? Why are they trying to get money? Because their parents didn't leave them one thin dime. Raise your hand if your parents left you something to start with and you didn't have to start from ground zero. Wow. That's one person right there. One person. You know what I'm saying? We're living in a different day, a different age, a different time, where technology is totally disrupting the way we do business. So we're at a time right now where we can invest in our young people, where we can invest in our kids. If you love your kids, let me see your hand. Okay, now what are you going to leave them? What are you going to leave them? If you die right now, what would they have tomorrow? Would they have to depend on the government? Would they have to depend on somebody else in order to survive, in order to pay their bills? Or would they get arrested trying to survive? Because that's where most crimes are committed, because people are trying to make money to survive. It's just that simple. So what we've done is I've teamed up with Dr. Boyce Watkins, and we have a new film project that we're working on called Young Moneymakers. How many young moneymakers do you know? A young moneymaker is somebody that's 25 years and under that has a business and they're making money, that has an EIN number, that has the Dun and Bradstreet like the young lady was talking about, the credit with them. So that's what we're doing. So we're asking that you get involved with this project, Young Moneymakers, by doing two things. First, we want you to follow us on Instagram, on social media, at We Young Moneymakers. That's the page on social, on Instagram, on Facebook, We Young Moneymakers. Then we want you to have young people submit a 60-second video with that hashtag, We Young Moneymakers. And then challenge their friends and their families to support their videos. And then the other way that you can get involved is becoming a supporter and also becoming a sponsor. So you can go to our Indiegogo page, We Young Moneymakers, to become a supporter. You can support as little as $5. You know what I'm saying? So imagine if you were a young kid, 7 years old, and you had somebody, hundreds of people, thousands of people supporting you with $5. You know what I'm saying? We spend $5 at Starbucks every day. That's nothing. So we gotta use that money to be recycled in the community to invest in our young people. So that's what we're asking that you do. Get involved with the Young Moneymakers film. This is an excellent film. I'm excited about Dr. Boyce Watkins getting involved, man, and partnering with him. So, you know, you'll hear more about it. And follow us on Instagram, Facebook, We Young Moneymakers, because it's time that we tell our story. It's time that we celebrate the young people that actually have a business that they're creating so they can leave to the next generation, so that they can pass that down. We can't pass down a job. You know what I'm saying? We can't pass that down. We can't pass down something that we're renting or releasing. But if we own it, then we can pass that down. So that's why I love the We Buy Black Convention. So I love Dr. Boyce Watkins, and thank you, him and Michelle. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to do a Q&A for 10 minutes. And just in case you wonder why I'm looking at directions, because she's going to tell me everything I need to know and do. So don't even wait for me to say it. Just look at her and she'll tell you what I'm about to say. So does anybody have any questions? Maybe we can, one sentence questions, and I can give very short answers. That way we can get as many people as possible. Yes, sir.
What do you think we can do to address the issue of the long-term thinking, because like you said, a lot of us don't think long-term, you know, since we're not gonna benefit from not trying to leave something for our kids, what can we do to change that thinking?
Well, you know, long-term thinking and the ability to delay gratification is actually defined as one of the key factors in determining which cultures do the best. In an impromptu study that a lady did at Yale University, she found that actually the Nigerian culture, she labeled them the most superior culture on the planet because they're committed to education. They really have a strong sense of pride in who they are, and also they have a commitment to delayed gratification. Which basically means they think like investors. They plant seeds for the future, right? Every time you invest time or energy or money or whatever into something that you could give away right now, that's what you're doing. You're an investor. So you've been an investor your whole life, right? So in terms of changing that line of thinking, I don't really know really exactly how you can elevate everybody or change everybody, because I don't like preaching at people and nagging people, especially people that don't want to change. You know, I'm going to marry the woman I'm going to marry is a social worker, and one thing she always says is, if you know, you should not work harder than the other person to get them to change. Like I can't do more for you than you want to do for yourself. So I think leading with love. Before you correct, you must connect. So my first thought is, when I let you just know I care about you and I want to find out what matters to you, and then maybe I can fit in what I'm thinking, you know, my belief, my agenda, everybody has an agenda, into what it is you're trying to accomplish, then maybe we can work together to make it happen. But then even then, you have varying outcomes in terms of what people are ready for. Some people are ready for level 1, some people are ready for level 10. It kind of sometimes it comes down to not just your background and values and experiences, but also maybe just how sick you are of being a slave, how sick you are of your current life. If you love your current life, then I'm not really good for you. I'm not for the complacent Negroes. I'm for the black people that are just sick of it all and want something better, right? Yes, ma'am.
So, good morning.
Good morning.
So, I'm an economist and I'm a long-term investor. And one of the things that I'm confronted with a lot when talking about investing to other people is that there's a natural tendency in our community for get rich quick. And it's along the same lines of the thinking. So I missed a good part of it, I apologize. But did you talk anything about dollar cost averaging versus the hot tip or hot stock tip and the thinking along with that?
Yeah, well, you know, given the time is short, there's only so much that can be covered now. But, and in the seminar, actually, we go into detail on all these things. But one of the things that I put together, because I was dealing with that a lot, fighting the get-rich-quick schemes and the instant gratification. And it's not just black people. It's really more so a phenomenon amongst a lot of poor people. If you go to poor white trash communities, you're going to see the same kind of thing. What I did actually was I put together something called the $5 a day investment plan. It's actually a book, a short little book I put on Amazon for people that really needed to get the confidence to believe that wealth can be created, because you're fighting against a narrative that says if you're born poor, then you're going to just die poor. There's nothing you can do about it except wait for the white people in Washington to give you reparations, right? And I just don't. I think that's very depressing. I mean, just go jump off a bridge right now. Like, there's no point in trying to do anything because, you know, nothing's going to work, right? That's what you're hearing. So what I did was I actually showed that if you put $5 a day, if you had, say, done this 30, 40 years ago, invested about $5 a day in the stock market, after about, in 10 years, I'm literally talking about literally picking random stocks, not even knowing nothing about investing, just randomly picking, you would have approximately $29,000 after a decade, of which $18,000 would be the amount that you actually put in. After 20 years, you'd have about, I think it was $102,000, and of which about $36,000 you actually put in. After 30 years, it was $245,000, of which about $54,000 is what you put in. After 40 years, it's almost $750,000, right? So within one generation, you transform your family from poor to what would be considered to be almost wealthy, the top 10% or so. So dollar cost averaging, meaning doing the same thing consistently no matter what, is very, very important. Most people don't get rich quickly in America. Most people get rich slowly. So you have to ask yourself, are you on your way to becoming an automatic millionaire? David Bach actually coined that term. Automatic millionaire means that you're doing something automatically on autopilot that is going to build your wealth over time. In fact, I would tell you a story, but I'm not going to tell it because I want you guys to ask a question. Does anybody have a question? Yes, sir.
what do you think of Bitcoin and how can we use it to further our agenda?
What do I think about Bitcoin and how can we use it to further our agenda? First of all, I'm not an expert on crypto and Bitcoin. Black Enterprise kind of kicked me in the butt a little bit when they listed me as one of the leading experts on crypto and Bitcoin. What they didn't understand is I have a team of experts around me that were advising me, and of course understanding the fundamentals of economics and all that. I picked it up kind of quickly, but I'm not one of the leading experts on it. But I will say this: what I've concluded is that blockchain technology is here to stay. I believe cryptocurrency is here to stay. I don't know if Bitcoin is here to stay. I know the crypto market, the problem with the crypto market though is it's so volatile. It's insanely volatile. The price movements are ridiculous. A lot of it's also because there's really not a lot of fundamentals you can latch onto. So investing in crypto is not like investing in the stock market. But I do think that there's long-term potential there to the point where I am a strong crypto investor, but I invest across a lot of different coins because I don't know which one's going to win, which ones are going to survive. So that's my thought on it. In terms of the black agenda with crypto, you probably have to talk to a crypto expert on that because, maybe creating a currency within the community is a possibility. I just don't know how to do that myself. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I have a 9 to 5 and I have 4 businesses that I'm working on. Those 4 businesses are going to be seeds for my children. But my question to you is there something right now that I can give to my kids directly? Let's say a 529 account or a investment account in their name. What's the best tool I can give them right now, directly to them, that will grow in the future?
Well, let me say this. I don't give my kids any money. I build wealth that they're going to have. It's in the will, it's in the trust. But I don't give them anything where they can become 18 and act like they can just do whatever they want with it. I don't do that. Again, because I was mentioning that 70% of all wealthy families lose their wealth in a generation. So if you give an 18-year-old $250,000, they'll probably be as dumb as I was, and that money be gone quick. Don't let them meet a pretty girl or something, whatever, right? So my point is to say those custodial accounts, they are out there. Stash has a really good custodial account you can do that you put in your child's name. And there are some other vehicles out there as well. And then of course there's just basic stuff like, make sure your life insurance is good in case you're not around. And so those are some options that I tend to like. But I also just like the idea of accumulating the wealth in your family account and then putting it in your will and your trust and your estate plan so that they're going to be taken care of, but it's going to be under the conditions that you, the king, have established before your death. Also, at some point we're talking, I'd like to know more about how you work a 9 to 5 and have 4 businesses. That sounds like a lot. So my first thought on that would be, I hope that if all 4 of those businesses are not making money, you may want to focus on 1 or 2 and then let those build up the others, right? Raising 4 newborn babies can be really, really tough. And from a business standpoint, if that makes any sense, right? Sometimes it's better to let one child grow up and then that child can help you babysit the others, right? So all my businesses funded each other and there are different stages of development, okay? Yes, sir.
Sylvester, just a question for you. At what point when you're doing investing in like Robinhood, do you want to go from doing that on your own to you branch out and you go to maybe some of the conventional investors like you name any of the ones that are out there? When do you feel that you should possibly leap from that, even though you may have 20, 30, 40?
I don't really know if there's a time where you have to make that leap. I know people that have millions of dollars in Robinhood Stash and little apps like that. And now the only risk I could see possibly is, having everything in one place. Once you get a certain amount of money, you spread it out a little bit, but it's not like the apps can't do most of what you need to do to build a decent amount of wealth. With those apps, you can buy, well, not so much Robinhood, well, actually, scratch that. Robinhood, you can buy the stock options and the ETFs and any stock I'm looking for. I just find it on the app and I can just buy it right then. So I don't really know if there's a time where you just grow up and make a transition. I think those apps do a really good job. Now, maybe later on, a financial advisor being involved will be good, just to make sure that everything's in line, everything's protected, everything's targeted in the way that you want. Because remember, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's really, if you really want to win this thing, I think you want to give yourselves the keys to immortality. I'll tell you this, and then it sounds like my time is up. The key to immortality is really planning for your death. Your life is going to be a short part of your legacy. Your life is a very short, like Martin Luther King's life was a tiny part of his legacy, what he means. Jimi Hendrix was only famous for a year and a half. but he's been a legend for 50, 60 years. So you're going to be a legend for 200, 300, 400 years in your family if you play the game right. Your life is a short part of that. So I think death planning is critically important. Talk to attorneys or whoever, financial advisors, to make sure you're good. Don't go out like a sucker with no will, no life insurance and all that stuff, because everything you work hard for will disappear. Now I'm going to go tomorrow. I'll be answering questions for 8 straight hours, and we're going to have a room full of people just like this. And I hope that I've shown you that you will get quality. It'll be extraordinarily good. In fact, if you're not happy, we just give you your money back, because I don't want any unhappy people. So feel free to go check it out. You can go to drboyceatlanta.com and still buy a pass for tomorrow. We'll be right downtown Atlanta at the West End Hotel. So see you guys soon. Have a good day. Love you guys.
Thank you.